Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and we got smblack back in the house again.
Hey everyone.
It's a 24-hour plane ride.
Yeah, 24 hours.
Yeah, it took a while. Took a while to get here, but what we're gonna do today is just a little podcast. We have some topics, some questions, or just some ideas we want to talk about. Yeah, and just basically talk to you guys for as long as I guess we feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've basically just been talking this whole time. June's here for regionals. We got regionals in the area happening, and it's going to be a record turnout this year. A lot of stuff going on, and I guess that's a good thing to talk about, actually.
Yeah.
A good thing to start with. So, regionals basically has vendors now. It's kind of like a mini Worlds, where back in the day, like 5 or 7 years ago, regionals was like basically like a large comic shop, and now it's like a full-fledged tournament. And I think there's like 6 vendors this year. And yeah, we're really excited about it because we're both going to go there and buy stuff.
Yeah. So I'm really happy to go there because like 6 vendors is actually a lot. And most of the people will go to play. So it's a good location for me and you to pick up a few cards.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm trying to think of the stuff that I opened. I opened a jungle, for those who saw this, I opened some jungle packs on the channel here, and those were from regionals. And people, because when I went there, I'm like, okay, it's going to be a bunch of Shaman EX or whatever's playable. I need to update my playable cards. Like
right now, playable, you have many cards, Tapu Lele.
Yeah.
And the Tybalt and everything, so yeah.
That's what I thought it was going to be, but surprisingly, it was actually like some Japanese stuff. Like they had Japanese plushes there as well. So like if you have a regionals in your area, as a collector now, there's a value to go to it, where before... I remember I went to one like years ago and it was just like, okay, I'm meeting people there and we're just basically talking about Pokemon in a different location. But now it's like you can do that and actually buy some stuff you'll like. But yeah, so one of the main things we're going to do here is just talk about Pokemon in Japan because there's a lot happening. I actually recorded a video about a couple days ago that you'll probably see after this where I touch on some of the main things I've noticed in Japan, but I don't know where you want to start with this. Like, there's so much to talk about. There's
so much things. I think we should start with the Scream promo first. Like, the Scream promos, they're very popular right now.
Yeah.
Most of them, the Pikachu and the Mimikyu. Mm-hmm. Which totally...
Yeah, where's Mimikyu? Yeah. Mimikyu should be in the front row.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, Mimikyu is the stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But, like, when I see the price right now in Japan is crazy. It's just insane.
Yeah, and this is probably something people should hear, because I've talked about this on Patreon, and I've talked about it before, or I've mentioned it when I did my Scream promo video. A lot of people think that, like, in Japan, there's, like, this oasis that you can just get this stuff for less, and I was like, go ahead and let him know.
I mean, if there's a oasis, I will be the first person drinking from there.
Right.
No, there's not such a thing. Like, yeah, sometimes you may find 1 or 2 little things over there, and there's always people when they come. Like, last weekend there was a big tournament in Tokyo, and there was this German guy. He's like, I went to many stores, and I bought a lot of cards, and in end of the day, he bought what, like 5 of each promo except the Mimikyu and the Pikachus. And he spent per card around $10.
Right.
Which is actually the price you're paying almost on eBay raw.
Right.
So it doesn't really change anything.
Right.
Really change anything.
Yeah, because I think, like, I've said this so many times, it's getting to the point where I'm beating a dead horse. The dead horse probably still has a low pulse, but at this point, like, it used to be where you could go and get cards for significantly less in Japan. Like, the markets used to be so restricted. Where now, it's like you were saying, like, we were looking at Pikachu prices even before we started this video. And, like, he was showing me some in his shop. It was, like, 2,980 yen is what they were charging, which is decent. But it's, like, after fees and everything for a Westerner, it's, like, you can just buy that on eBay for the same price.
Is 2,900 is before tax.
Right.
So you have to add 8% taxes on it, which is 3,200 or something like that.
Right.
So the bottom line is, even for a Pikachu, you're not looking under $30. anywhere in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I see even ridiculous price to $80 for one Pikachu.
Jeez, yeah, that's a range.
It is a lot, but there's not many out there.
Well, yeah, one thing I wanted to add here, like I didn't mention this when I was doing my screen promos because it was something I realized like afterwards. But there was a guy, let me think of his name, Pokey Nastic, I think it was on E4, who posted their Mimikyu. So they pulled the trigger on a Mimikyu, I think like 130 and some change, and it was sealed. And they showed a picture, had a couple creases in it. And I've noticed this. I had this happen on Pikachus. One of them, I was like, maybe this was here before, or PSA. Something happened at PSA. But I bought some more again, like my second shipment. I noticed it had like a back crease, and the front was fine. Mm-hmm. So it's similar, because Mimikyu comes in that folder. It's just something that's happening. And of course, it's not the majority by any means, but it's just something that has happened at least to multiple people. So it'll be interesting to see like what patterns emerge with time, because right now all these are available. Like you can buy them. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay the $100-ish
yes,
for
Mimikyu? I think if you're 130 plus shipping, and then once you get it,
right,
you will submit it yourself to PSA. And I see many people like sending. I see like a few friends who send like 2-3 Mimikyu, and they end up with 1 or 2 9s, or even an 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because like you say, the Mimikyu and the Pikachu, they come in the binder, and with because people touch it and everything. So
yeah, and it's hard because we were just looking at your Mew EX,
yes,
the one, and it's the Mew Player EX, and it was sealed. It looks beautiful. I mean, it's got that new back, like perfect finish. And I was like, why'd this get a 7? And it's like, sure enough, you put on the light, and it's like a subtle indent. And I think that's the thing. That's like the number one nemesis right now that people are overlooking, because you can't pick it up in a photo. It's like you can show me a photo, it looks beautiful, has that indent, and it's like an STD. It's like it might not have something visible, but it's there. But yeah, it's like the thing with
it just crush your heart. You know?
Yeah. Like this is gonna be a 10. Nope. But yeah, like this right here, the Pikachu and so when I send in the Pikachu and the Mimikyu, I had better results with the Mimikyu than I did Pikachu. And then moving down to like Psyduck was my worst for some reason. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think it might have been the off-centering, because I would say like 40% of my Psyducks got 9s. And I was like, maybe I'm getting hit with that 9 tax, where when you send in like 50 new back Japanese cards, they're like, okay, we can't give all these 10s. But I looked at them again, and it's like, so some of the Psyducks had centering issues, but I would say like my Psyducks were like 60-40, 10 to 9. Eevee was like 70-30. Rowlet had the best results, but Pikachu was also like I would say 70-30 percentage-wise. So anyway, just giving you guys some data there, because I thought it was going to be a cakewalk. I thought it was
for me too. Like when I received recently, so like I said a few minutes ago, 160 cards.
Mm-hmm.
In this 160 card, I have 70% PSA 10, which is I have 30% who's on the PSA 10. And some of those cards are recent cards, and a little bit older, but mostly you don't see the indent or anything
right
at the moment. Like even for me, like every time when I send cards to PSA, I take like 5 minutes of each card, and still having PSA 8, even the 6.
Yeah,
I'm like, really?
It's okay. I got a whole stack of like 4 to 6s. Actually, there's one stack here, there's another stack over there. Yeah, but it's just part of the game.
It is part of the game.
Yeah.
You can't do anything against that. It's just difficult.
Yeah, but in general, the screen promos, as it stands now, which there's been a lot of movement on them, which I think is a sign that they're exciting. In fact, I did a batch on eBay. One of the bidders bought it, who wasn't even into Pokemon. One of his buddies was an artist. And he just bought them for him because he'd appreciate the artwork. You're getting a lot of people that are kind of like Mario Pikachu. Mario Pikachu really was a wide net that hit a ton of people. And you're seeing that both in Japan and the US. Like you're seeing people buying these cards. So it'll be interesting to see how they look a year, 2, 5 years from now, because there's already so much activity.
Yeah, it's like you say, there's more and more artists who are interested only in the card because how they look. This association between the art itself and Pokemon. I had actually a friend who wanted to visit Japan to see the actual screen painting, and he couldn't come for other reason. But yeah, it just like besides Pokemon,
yeah,
it's something greater behind there.
right,
So.
right, yeah, it's immediately iconic. So transitioning to one of the other things we want to talk about. There's a lot of big topics here, but one of the other big topics is signatures right now in Japan. And this sucks because I thought I was doing something clever or creative with my Japanese summary. Now we're just going to spoil all of it and talk about it. But one of the other big things that is happening right now in Japan are autographs. And like, it's an interesting topic because you have a lot of interest outside of Japan, but all the artists are in Japan. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people who want these just have to wait for some of them to come out. Like outside of Arita, everybody else is pretty much stuck in Japan. That's what it is.
Even though Arita, in Japan it doesn't work like this. There's an event. 2 weeks before the event, they will announce who will go there for signature events. Mm-hmm. Until now, since 2013, mostly Arita was called, and then any other people besides that. And Arita get more and more known in Japan. Mm. But all the rest, they're not known. Mm. And even that, for one signature event, it's only 100 people can participate.
Yeah, that's not much.
So there is 3 signature events per year. That means 300 people. 300 times 8, 2,400. 2,400 people get signature. It's not that much, actually.
Yeah.
It's not that much.
Yeah. And also, for the people like who can't be there in person, which is like majority of the world, a lot of these people aren't going to sell. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Japanese people don't sell. Like,
yeah.
People who go there, they do it for themselves.
We were just talking about this, like how there's such a, not just from the person who buys something or gets something signed, but even people who own cards or who won cards, there's this fear of like, if I sell, it's going to be known. And that could somehow like have a cost or like a ramification. And, you know, if you have any type of relationship with Nintendo or any of these companies, they see that as like a slight. So it's a weird thing to figure out how to maneuver because so many people want these cards, but it's like you don't want to like force it. You don't want to be like, all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, Japanese people, when you try to force it, they won't like you. Mm-hmm. And they will avoid you and your friends and people who know you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the first thing. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And they prefer, being loyal to the company or any relationship they have, then better to sell something.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to buy a signature from someone in Japan, offer to take them out to eat first, get to know them,
even
talk to their family, meet the parents.
I mean, even if you know them, yeah. They won't gonna say, how many signatures you want? 10, 20? Okay, below, no problem. No, they are not so naive, unfortunately.
Yeah. So
unfortunately,
yeah, I know.
That would be great.
But the thing is, it's almost like it's really frustrating because there is like the artists want more of a market to grow. Like they want people to like say like what Arita's doing basically. They want to be like, oh yeah, I'd like to do what he does. Where someone pays for them to go to an event. And it was actually just announced publicly he's going to Dubai.
Yeah.
And that's a curveball. Like a lot of people are probably like, whoa, like Dubai's not like, whatever, California or one of these big states. But either way, the point is like artists want to do more, but they can't without like the consumer base, coming in.
There's 2 conflict interests there. The first is the artists, they can go as Pokemon card illustrator to any places. They have to go as artists. So most of them, they do something else. Like for example, Arita does he did a lot of Final Fantasy, and he does a lot of different things besides Final Fantasy and Pokemon. So if he goes somewhere, he go first for that, and then Pokemon. Yeah. Pokemon is not the main thing. If you have to realize that, because if you don't, well, Nintendo will say, "Oh, Arena, I see you just go in there as a Pokemon illustrator, and you just go make some signature over there, and you're making some money. Interesting. You work for us, right?" He's like, how does it work? He's like, you work for us, right? So you should be careful on what you're doing. And then from a day to another, he has no job anymore. Even if he worked for them for 10 years, even if he's one of the populars person in Nintendo,
right?
They'll say, for us, it's like, you're just making money behind us, which is different,
Yeah, so it's kind of like paying off the mob, paying off the people who made you. No, but I mean, that is the conundrum, is that they're so popular right now in Japan. Like, there's so many events going on. And from an outsider's perspective, it is frustrating, which it's somewhat selfish because, like, the collectors want to collect, but you just can't have access to it. You just have to wait and hope that someone from Japan decides to sell.
Yeah.
So it worked, but we had Saito here, which was nice, like in Texas.
Yeah. Saito just actually, we had the signature event last week before I came to the US. And it was interesting because it's the first time in Japan ever they charge people for the signature. So basically, you go to the event, you get a number, and you wait until 5 minutes before the signature event, and they will pull out the numbers who will be picked up, and you pay for the signature, and you get only one signature. So there is the lottery part, you have to pay for it, and you can do only one signature. And you just ask yourself, hold on, if I live like 2 hours from here, I just pay 2-hour train to come here to play a lottery to maybe have a signature. So if I lose the lottery, why did I even come?
Yeah, sounds like some raffle BS right here.
A.K.A. raffle. So that was totally, I would say, a little bit stupid. But at the main time, they can't satisfy everyone.
Right.
And also, there was this problem in Japan that at the signature event, there was always the same person came in there.
Like...
Yeah, again and again, there was always the same person coming back and back, which make a lot of noise by Nintendo and everything. So they try to change that, and that's why they change also the people, because Arita came often, 2-time Himeno, and one time Fukuda. So they try to put new artists like Shibuzo. She started like 3-4 years ago. So she's not really known. She did like mostly commons, cute things. So they try to target like really also women and girls and like kids.
Yeah,
like
really diversify
because if there's always the same people, the same collectors coming over and over, they don't want that. They want people to feel like, we don't forget you guys too.
Okay, that's smart. Yeah, that's smart.
Which is one move.
Yeah. I was gonna joke and say, like, if you step out of line, if that little 6-year-old girl steps out of line, she's over. Like, it's over with. But yeah, I mean, it's good that they're doing that. I think, like, one of the things I touched on in a video that I did by myself was how they're, like, the engine of it all. Like, it's interesting because this is the emerging market right now, I think, in the hobby. And one of the emerging markets that's happening are signatures, because it's just something new, and people are actually collecting it. I've never had signatures. I just got some back from PSA. Oh God, it was like from 2004 Worlds. I had all these signatures for ages, and no one cared about them. And now all of a sudden, it's like, everyone talks about them just because of the knowledge. It's like, it's a great example how you get knowledge out there, and then you develop like an organic interest in it. But yeah, it's an emerging market right now. It's stemming out of Japan. And there's nothing anyone can do outside Japan except wait and hope and pray that that these people can like come out. But it's still exciting nonetheless. Like, it's just good that it's happening, regardless if you can't get it yourself. Like, but yeah, I think a couple years, like when you just said they just started charging for signatures, that's the first step. It's just going to become more structured and business oriented to where it'll just develop and be like, okay, this person's going to go here now, this person's going to go overseas because there's so much demand for this and there's money to be made and everybody will be happy. So I think the market will just naturally get there eventually.
Well, the thing with the signature is the Japanese people realize that signature are something very important, so they start also to grade it. Japanese people are interested more and more to grading cards every single day. Like, there's more and more Japanese people coming to our to my store and asking for grading cards, and sometimes they ask you cards like, who will even grade this card?
Graded psychic energy. Yeah. It's like PSA 7.
Yeah, like who will even grade it?
Yeah.
And this is the whole different perspective to Japanese people, I mean to Asian people and to us, which is like they just grade things because they like it. And they just want to put it on the shelf in their store or in their bureau or wherever.
Right.
So the grading get more and more understand by Japanese people, but not for the same reason than we do.
Yeah, so actually this is one of the topics that we wanted to touch on, grading, because a lot, we've talked about this before with PSAs in Japan now, but I think a lot of people, it's basically impossible for someone to understand like the nuances of it unless you're in Japan. So like even these things you're saying to me are interesting because you definitely have people that grade cards for display. Like I have some sitting here and they're certainly not my most valuable cards by any stretch of the imagination. They don't even have, some of them don't even have the best grades, but it is definitely a sentimental thing. The interesting part here though is there's a weird mixture of like sentimentality and then this belief that's gonna be more valuable. And that's where it's tough because it's like people don't realize most of the valuable cards are a minority. Mathematically speaking, it's like majority of the set cards, like even if you look at a set, it's like what's valuable, usually the chase cards. And everything else, monetarily speaking, isn't going to be valuable. And it's like, sure, if you like it, like some of my favorite cards in the new sets are like the Uyama commons, like the ones done by Uyama. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you grade that thinking it's going to now be $20 or whatever, it's like absolutely not.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, yeah, I think you can maybe find one or two Oyama common or uncommon who may worth it. But does it worth it the time to do it? That's the question.
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah, I think the person you said who wanted to grade like 20
of
these, it's like... Well, for what? It's like, because you got the one you want to display, but what are the other 19 going to do?
Like
they're not going to sell.
I asked him actually that question. He's like, no, I just like them. And I asked him, are you sure you want to grade it? He said, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, if you want, basically you want to... It was weird for me. Like, I asked him, do you do it for money? Do you do it... What is the true, goal, purpose through that? Yeah, just having in PSA cases because it's cute. I like it.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's what he says. Because it's cute. It's like...
Hopefully that was a mistranslation.
No, really. You say it's cute. Like, they like... Because for them...
But do they mean like it's preserving it? Is that what they mean?
Yeah, not just preserving it.
It's like organized.
It's just like, organized, and for them it's easier to see through it and everything.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna just joke, be like, grade all 30 of these. It's like, because I think that's the thing. Is like people don't understand the cards that don't have an established value. Like if you're grading a card that's not $10 essentially, give or take, it's not really going to grow in value when you grade it. And of course, this is a general statement. I'm sure there's some exception that somebody will gladly point out to me. But at the end of the day, I think it's interesting because like the Japanese are experiencing this almost like it's a new language that's like or a new tool that's just fallen in their laps. And it's like a human just trying to figure out, okay, what do I do with this? Is it cute? Like, is it valuable? Like, they're trying to figure out what's going on. Because I remember when I saw a graded card like ages ago, like we're talking like 2007, somewhere in there, like when I got my first graded card, at first I was apprehensive. I'm like, why would you want like a thing on there with like a... Like, I remember it saying the name. I was like, why do you want this? And then when I got my first card, I was like, okay, I get it. It's like, it's nice and protected. Like, for people who want to display it, it does it. Even for I think the number one thing about grading, outside of, like, the part about how it's a third-party opinion, so there's no bias between buyer and seller, but, like, for people who look at it, they can just read the label and be like, oh, this is the Charizard card. Like, when people come over and they see stuff, or they ask to see some stuff that I have, they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's this. So they'll just look through stuff, and it's self-explanatory. So there are definitely a lot of, like, inherent positives to grading. But, yeah, it is interesting how it's, like, this rudimentary, like, understanding. They're like, what is it? Like, what is it going to be? Like,
and there's also, like, in Japan, people are really into displaying things. Like, if you go to any shop, every card you will buy will be displayed.
Yes.
So the display aspect is known. So if you have cards you like, you want to display it. So recently, one of our customer who wants to make showcase to display his PSA cards. But the problem is there is not such a thing.
Yeah.
So I had to ask a retailer if they can make the same showcase except like with a little bit thicker to put the PSA card inside. So it took 2 weeks to get an answer and say, okay, well, actually we can do it.
Yeah.
Will be something specific.
Yeah.
But they can do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard because grading is one of those things where it needs to happen. And that was a good joke actually when you said the thing about presentation when you brought me those Kit Kats. It's like even those you open up, it's freaking Kit Kats, and each one of them is like presented.
Yeah,
it's like good God.
Yeah, it's this Japanese thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like you buy the Kit Kat, you just the inside you don't care the order,
it's just a
right?
piece of candy.
But in Japan, like you have Kit Kat, even the Kit Kats are displayed correctly.
Yeah, I know. It's tilted in the angle.
It's like a piece of art or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Makes you think about life. It really makes you think. They're cute. They're really cute.
Yeah.
No, but what I was going to say about grading is like I think it's just a natural evolution. I think that's the thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's tough because the only thing I personally don't like about grading is I like doing binders. Like I have a stack of binders sitting here, and it's like there is a pro and a con to everything. And I think the biggest deficit for me of grading is if you don't want to display it, if you don't want to put individual cards, you know, like a set together. You know, it's really tough, to, like what you're saying, to get like a big, nice display to show all 102 first edition base cards.
Yeah.
You know, this is where you run into like the struggle of like trying to figure out what to do with PSA cards. But I think for first edition base, you can find that option. But it's like, okay, I also like Jungle or I also like Rocket or whatever it is. It's like you've already filled up your whole room, you know. So that is the only downside I see to grading. But I think it's something that needed to happen in Japan.
I think it's just the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And a lot of things will change us in prices. It's one thing we want to talk about is the prices in Japan.
Yes.
Because
good segue.
Because people start to grade the starting price will grow more and more. So people who's complaining because they can buy the Mimikyu PSA 10 for 350. Well, guess what? In less than 1 year, it will be more than that. Because people in Japan will hold on. American people are grading they sell for this price.
Yeah.
So why should I sell mine for 130? Why shouldn't I grade it myself and sell it?
Yeah. So what we're experiencing right now, prices, is interesting because before it used to be Japan was kind of doing their own thing and the U.S. was kind of doing their own thing. It was separate. Now there's a lot of crossover. And basically what's happening now with the U.S. stores is they're having to adapt what Japanese decide. And we were talking about this with some of the screen promos, especially the cheap ones. And we were like, you know, some places sold them for like $5. And I'm like, that card, any of these cards, the cheapest one should be $10 all day. Like it just, everything about it doesn't make any sense. So it's like when Japan chooses to put that $10, the world has to pay $10.
Yes.
So like with Mimikyu is the best example. Mimikyu started at like 20 or 30 if you could get it right away.
At the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like now you better add $100 to it. And it's like
even $100 you don't get any. Like I was looking yesterday, even today on Mercari. Even there's none available.
And for those who don't use Mercari, Mercari is like the lowest possible end of the market. It's made for Japanese people. It's basically like a Craigslist, a new 2019 Craigslist. And even on there, it's like 130, 150, somewhere in that price range. And that's before fees. I haven't bought one at that price with fees yet. But yeah, that's just the ground floor. And whatever that is, it's like that's just what the world has to pay because you can't go any lower. So, yeah, that's just the most interesting part right now for Japan.
I mean, the prices, they're going more and more. Like, for me personally, it's just hard to get higher cards.
Yeah.
Because people just come, I like this card. How much is it? And I remember, I don't know when it was, but like recently, there was this shop who was just displaying 2-3 cards. And then there was this foreign guy who came in, he wanted cards. and say whatever the price is, I pay it.
Mm.
And they pay like 2-3 times Japanese market value because they want it badly. But one thing they didn't realize is because they pay 2-3 times Japanese market value, Japanese people say what? Hold on, if this guy is paying 2-3 times market value in Japan, that means we are too cheap even at that price. So they continue to raise the prices. It's like Team Rocket case. Good example. Right now, just the Giovanni single cards in Japan, you don't find any under 500.
Yep.
Just this one single, only one card, not the set, only one card. You don't find any under 500.
Yeah.
So the price is getting higher and higher, and it won't change anything. So people who's complaining for what they cost right now, they will complain more later.
It's not gonna get too much better.
No.
Yeah, I think the thesis here is like Japan sets the world pricing for Japanese stuff. That's just what it comes down to. Because there's no possible way to compete with their cost. There's absolutely no possible way. Because what it used to be, like if you go back like 6 years, 7 years, what it used to be is the gap was so wide that if you're someone who bought from Japan, it's like you could undercut other people in the U.S. significantly because the gap was so large. Where now it's like it's thin for a lot of this stuff, and no matter how connected you are, it's like, you know, you could be Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan God, smpratte, and like you still can't get this stuff. It's like
I want to see that Super Saiyan God, smpratte.
Yeah, fused with like Yamato and Arita himself, and you still can't get the connection. It's like there's no way. So I think that's the thing. That's like the number one takeaway that I think every person who is basically buying right now realizes. Like, there just is no Oasis. And there used to be in a context, they used to be able to pick up a card here or there. Cheaper, and you still can. You can always find deals. But especially with this type of stuff, it's like you just can't get it significantly lower. And that thing you're saying about the Westerner coming over there, there's so many people message me like, hey, if I go to Japan, can I get... Actually, that was in that video I recorded. It's like, can I get it cheaper? It's like, I mean, you could try. Maybe you could find a couple things here and there, but it's not going to be like this home run.
Yeah, I see sometimes the foreign people coming here, there, and yeah, they go back usually after a week, and they mostly disappointed because they was expecting more. Yeah. Not just in quantity, more in price also.
In quality, yeah.
And in quality, because like, right now, just gold stars. This is ridiculous.
We're spoiling my whole video now. So not even uploading. It's like every single thing. Because it's just true.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. There's a shorter video of this longer video that we're doing now.
No, it's just ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not buying this car.
Yes.
Like, when they come, they're like, no, I'm not buying this. Dude. What is this?
It's such a pattern. Like, it's just happening right now so hard. It's just raging right now. Like, these gold stars are like, that's the exact thing I talked about, is how like back in the day, you could, even if you go back like 4 years ago, 5 years ago or something, you could find like pretty much every gold star, even the like players ones, mint condition. You know, it's just, do you want to pay that money for them? Where today it's like, no.
You pay more, but for less quality.
Yeah, for like a PSA 4. It's like, that's what you're going to get. It's going to be in one of these stacks right here.
Yeah.
For like $2. But yeah, that's just what it is. And a gold star is a friggin' set card. So it's like all this other stuff. Like I had a Patreon guy who ended up being like just a consoling call, you know, just basically being like, it's all right, man, it's okay. This is just what it's like right now in Japan. But they thought they were going to be able to pick up some of these prize cards. And I'm like, man, you can't even get the gold stars consistently anymore. So it's like all this other stuff is just by the wayside. Like, it's definitely out there, but it's just not what it used to be.
No, it's not that what it used to be.
Not only do you have the price factor we talked about, we have the condition thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, the condition things ruin everything.
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't.
Like, I'll be real with people. Like, I'll be transparent. I have a decent amount of Japanese gold stars that I just have in deep storage because I'm like, I can't buy these mint ungraded anymore, and the prices of them selling on eBay right now graded are so low. They're basically like prices from years ago when you still could buy them. So I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna take them all off and hold them, and even if they don't go up, I don't care, because it's just impossible to get those 10 copies ungraded. It's so friggin' hard now. I would say it's easier for English, and English is pretty hard too. I would say it's easier to get English, like 9s and 10s than Japanese right now, because it's just so scarce in Japan. But yeah, that's one of the main things we want to hit on. I guess like segueing from prices, we could talk about some of the modern stuff. Like there's some rumors going around.
Yeah.
About like the tag team cars.
So people start to realize that the tag team mainly was joined by Arita. So people started speculating if they will focus on other artists after that. So maybe yes, maybe no, we don't know. But for sure, I think if they start to focus on one artist, there must be something behind their, this whole construction.
So basically, like, they do the full set. Like, they're going to do the normal, or the whatever, the full art, and then the...
Yeah. So basically, they do rare, full art, and then there's different illustrations from another person.
Okay.
So because they focus right now on Arita for the first 3 sets, who will they focus after that?
Actually, an idea, if you're listening, Pokemon... An awesome idea because it's a tag team. It'd be like Arita does one Pokemon, Sugimori does the other Pokemon, lights out. It's like, God, that'd be crazy. Because you don't ever see that. Like, I think actually on some of the trophy cards I have, or some of the other like more elaborate cards, there's like someone did the CGI and then someone did the hand drawing.
Yeah.
That sometimes you see that. That'd be so clever if they did that.
Tag team Arita Sugimori.
God, yeah, just throw that down in the game and be like, all right, it's over.
I think the whole box would sell out like...
Oh my God. Even right now, I mean, that's something else we can talk about, but like, God, if they did that, you wouldn't even be able to buy booster boxes. You wouldn't even buy... Right now, like, I had a couple people ask me privately about buying some Tag Bolt boxes and just modern Japanese in general, and I cannot get a full order from a distributor. Like, I've been ordering from a distributor for like years now, and every time, like, let's say I buy like 5 cases, or whatever it is, or 10 cases, they're like, we're going to go down, we're going to knock 2 or 3 of those off. Every single time. Like, I've yet to get a full order, because it's just so crazy right now in Japan, like, how much is being sold, how much is being bought. Even in the U.S., like, I've shipped now, like, probably 5 times to people in Japan, because they can't get some of the boxes that I've just held on to, and they're like, I'll buy all of them. I'm like, okay.
And even, like, people thought, like, when Tag Team will come out, they will reprint all the older sets.
Yes.
Which is not the case. So we're like, we actually need all the SM parts. You guys can print it out. And Nintendo's like, well, actually, we can just run a print like that. We know you guys need it, but we sorry, we can't.
You have to think about to meet the parents first and see if they want to think about a reprint at that point.
Okay, well, reprint is not in question right now, but yeah, we think think about it. We think about it.
Man, yeah, that's it's hard to like illustrate this, because modern boxes in English were doing really well, like around Roaring Skies, around there, and then they really just took off with Evolutions, and I would say like kind of fizzled out with Crimson Invasion. And they really hit a plateau there. And I think now they're at a healthy pace. So it was like big up, big down, nice little pace right now. But with Japanese, it's like Japanese was always in the shadows of English. So wherever English went, Japanese was always behind it. Where now it's like, I would say Japanese is right there with English, if not a little bit more emerging. And it's just, I think because there's so much growth in Japan that, they just, like you're saying, like, you need those freaking cards. Like, you need the boxes.
But at the opposite side, what I don't understand is, why do they print in huge quantity the Tag Bolt, but not the older sets? Because they know there's a growth for sure, but they print way too much in Tag Bolt in Japanese, and they didn't print any of the older sets.
This right here, actually, thanks for my laziness, it's been sitting on my desk. I wipe off the dust, but this is like an SM1 Plus, I think, in the box.
Yeah.
So I had like 20 of these just sitting on eBay, and the other day someone just buys all of them, like all of them at once, and I was like, what? And I look at it, and sure enough, it's going to Japan, because they just can't, they literally cannot get this in Japan, so they're buying it from an American. It's like, what? How crazy is that?
Which is totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why should Japanese people import Japanese products from the US?
Back in.
It's like we reverse import. What is this?
You take this for a year or two, and then sell back to me for more.
So basically, hold it for me.
Yeah, I'll pay you more.
I'll pay you more.
Yeah. It's like, all right.
So no, there is really a big issue with the tag vault over there.
Mm-hmm.
We hope like really they do something about the tag vault.
Yeah.
So maybe they will change our artist. Maybe they will make a tag vault artist.
Yeah.
We don't know, but for sure there's something huge coming up.
Yeah, and just to give people some data, because I know people like to hear numbers. Like I sold a case or a little over a case like instantly, and I think I took my listing down, or I knocked down the quantity, so it just ended on its own. And I sold them like immediately at $65. I had to put the price up to $75, and I still sold out. I think a day or two after I put it at $75, I sold the rest. And keep in mind, like I'm a U.S. seller who usually has the lowest price in the U.S., but Japan, like you can get it cheaper usually from a guy in Japan. It'll probably just take like a few weeks, so people will pay like an extra $5 or $10 to get it in 2 days. But the bottom line is this stuff is just not available. Like I wanted to re-up with my distributor, and it just says sold out or back ordered, which is just like the same word. It's like neither one of those is gonna help you.
No.
So yeah, that's just what it is right now.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's one of those things that no one can fix until Nintendo or Creatures decides to.
Yeah, I mean, I talked with my colleague about that before, and they say, yeah, there's nothing gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like the thing about reprinting is not just printing.
Mm-hmm.
It's about numbers and quality.
Yes. Yep.
Because if you need to ask your even if you want to ask another company to print it, the problem is will their company be able to do the same quality than the company you used to use?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpackage here actually. So like people think, oh, Media Factory is just like all the cards floating through a factory like Willy Wonka, and everything just comes out all the time, Pokemon. But it's like no, they contract other people to print this, and more specifically, I think a lot of people think in units of boxes. They're like, oh, they probably do like 1,000 boxes. When in reality, it's like what you're saying about numbers with sheets and cards.
Yes.
And then the box total is just whatever it is. So it's like kind of like for Magic guys who, if you look at the vintage stuff where they show you what they printed. So like I think like Legends or Arabian is like 19,500 rares or 20,000 rares, something like that. It's like, okay, that's how many rares are printed, and however many boxes all that takes is just what it is. So it's not from a box perspective, it's from like a card perspective, and that's the thing that's like the hump they need to get over. Is like that was the thing they were trying to figure out. They were trying to hedge it and say we don't want to saturate the market and do too much. So they were trying to figure out, should we do like just pick a number like 500 rares or 1,000 rares and everything else that goes with that. So that's where they were, and they're still there.
They're still there, and we hope they find a solution, because since they don't have any solution, well, as any Japanese person will re-import what could come from their own country, which is a little bit insane, but it is what it is.
It's just awesome, though. It's just like businesses just adapt. I just love it. It's like businesses are like, all right, we got to adapt. I'm just going to buy this. It's just constantly adapting. But one of the things I wanted to hit on, though, is that I still think that this is a healthier print, and even though they're being like lackadaisical and not printing more, there's still enough out there. Like Shiny GX, for example, people were like screaming about Shiny GX right when it dropped, and there's still enough out there. Like if you want to buy a box now, it's actually come down a little bit than what it was immediately. So the point is like even without a reprint, outside of the specific playable cards they need, which Shiny GX kind of deliver for some of that, there still is enough out there in the secondhand market for people to get. It's just, do you want to spend like the 10 or 20 extra? That's really what it is.
But the thing is, for Shiny GX, for example, it's not like they will reprint it or anything. So they're not available anywhere.
Still waiting for English. Everyone's like, oh, it's going to come out in English.
Yeah.
Where's it at? And it's like, I mean, it could come out in English, but it just hasn't. And this is a long gap. Usually
it's a really, really long gap.
Yeah.
If they do, we're looking for a world champion a little bit before Worlds. If they do,
right?
We talking about if they do,
right. Yeah, I mean, with the boxy stuff like Best of X and Y, almost I would say most Japanese releases are like this to English, where it's like you have a nice box in Japan, and then like boxy was just like a shit show. It's like, oh, we're gonna throw some promos over here, we're gonna do this little thing over there, and it's like, man, just do like Shining Legends was the best crossover.
Yeah. Shining Legend was very good.
But yeah, if it does
they can do the same thing for Ultra Shiny GX, because this set is just amazing.
Yeah, and it's massive. It's a massive set, so it's like you can't do this like half measure of like throwing so many tins. It's like that's just not gonna work. Like
it's huge. Like even for me, it doesn't fit in 2 binders.
Right.
You need at least 3-4 binders to fit everything in.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't saying much, but this isn't that risky of a statement, but it is probably the best modern set out there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like CP6 because it has like the original artwork, but Shiny GX is just unbelievable. Like it blew my mind. I thought I knew what was coming, and I was like, I wasn't ready. Like
you wasn't ready.
I didn't have the windows boarded up or anything. It's like just blew me over. But yeah, Shiny GX is like. It's the modern set in my opinion.
Yeah,
like
I just really the modern set. Like when I see people, there's everything in it. There's Charizards. There's there's EVs.
Yeah, it's like you want a shiny card, you got a shiny card. It's like you want a shiny Caterpie, he's probably in there.
I think the idea behind Ultra Shiny GX is people was complaining so much about Gold Stars and Ultra Shiny. No, just shiny.
Yeah,
the shiny sets. Mm-hmm. It's like. What? Is it completed? You guys, you know what? We're doing a big shiny set. Yeah, you get
they just hit Control A, Control C, Control V, and they're just putting it all in there. They're like, we're just doing a whole lot.
Yeah. Let's put some full art inside there. We call it SSR.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. SSR. Good. SSR, shiny, good. Print it out. The set is very good. Like you have. Ninetales, Alola Ninetales inside.
Yes.
You have the CGI. So there's many interesting cards inside.
It's like you have, and like the friggin' full art Mewtwo shining, awesome. Then you have like even the little ones, the half arts are probably like the Charmanders and stuff like that. It's like, man. So yeah, I have people all the time who are like, hey, would you sell me Shiny GX boxes? And I just redirect them to like the cheapest price on eBay. I'm like, just buy this. I was like, I will not. You could even come to me at $100 a piece. I'm not even listening. Because it's just like, it's not worth it, man. It's just such a good friggin' set. And I might end up opening some on camera eventually. But the point is, it's like, it's one of those things that you can't get any more distributors. Whatever it is in Japan is just what it's going to be. That whole thing about Japan sets the world price.
Yeah.
This is another example of that. But yeah, so some of the other things that are happening right now in Japan, to keep this going and to spoil my other video, is that there's new Pokemon centers and stores opening.
Yes.
Which is a lot to talk about because you have Pokemon centers, which is its own thing, and then you have like private stores like, smblack Incorporated. Yeah. Whatever. But yeah.
So, for example, since the hype of Pokemon, there's so many stores opening recently, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you open a company after the hype of Pokemon, so let's say from last year July, any store before last year July, you want to do Pokemon, they'll say, oh no, we don't trust you.
Who's we? Who are these people?
No, I mean,
like the people trying to apply for it?
Yeah. Basically, in Japan, how it doesn't work is, if you're a company, you can just say, oh, Nintendo, I want to buy Pokemon cards from you. It doesn't work like that. Nintendo supply companies. Those companies supplies other company who supplies stores.
Oh, there's 2.
There's 1 or 2, depends on from who you buy. So there's 1 or 2 middlemen, and there's no stores, from what I know, who buy directly from Nintendo.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
So you have to go to 1 or 2 middlemen to get your product.
God, you got like the friggin' GX middleman, the full art middleman,
and then you just the rare middleman.
I know.
So it is hard to get Pokemon cards, and even you does like, oh yeah, but because you knew, well, we'll give you $1 per set. Like, $1? $1? Say, hold on, I'm a store, right? How I should keep my store running with $1?
How are you gonna survive on that?
Like, when I see the order we making every time, and they cut like usually between 50 to 70% of our order, we can't sell singles.
Like when you say one box, you mean one, like this, or one case?
Yeah, no, 1 box. I'm talking about 1 box.
Like this.
Yes.
What?
I heard stores having 1 box.
That's insane.
Which is insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But the thing change is with the tugboat is, well, you can order as many you want, but the problem with tugboat doesn't sell that good. It's good for playing, but there's nothing exciting to the people
that's interesting.
to buy the full box itself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So basically, if you want the tugboat, they will say yes. They will have 2-3 cases. But as a store, to showcase everything, like if you open 1 case is more than enough. Because there's not many new things coming out.
Yeah. That's okay. So like, add some context there. That's interesting about tugboat, because from earlier when I was saying like how I basically couldn't hold on to my tugboat. I think it's different because people buying it from me are probably going to open to play.
Yeah.
Or they just want the box. Where the nature of like a physical storefront's different. Like your needs are different. Your customer base is different.
Yeah.
And it's like you want that casual person coming in and buying. That's why Shiny GX is beautiful, because it's like every card you get, somebody's gonna want to get.
Yeah, and any card you have is good.
Yeah, so I think that, especially like the Boxy set too, because like Boxy, I think it was like every card was hollow if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, like, a kid will like that. You know, a kid will pay a couple dollars for that, or a person, you know, anybody of any age. But yeah, you're right. That's a different need. Like the physical stores have a different need, and Tagbolt is very specified. It does that one really well. But it doesn't spread across into this stuff.
So it's very, very hard for a store to survive on Pokemon cards right now. Like, even if you put buy lists for old cards, there's rarely people coming with old cards in your store.
Yeah.
And even if they do, well, like we're saying, the condition is a huge problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it doesn't do that well. In state. So yeah.
It'll be interesting to see in my spoiled video now. I talked about how that right now there's a lot of growth in Japan, like a ton of growth. And if anything, it's kind of like, even earlier when I saw with the boxes, when you had the modern English boxes and you had the modern Japanese, like a little bit delayed behind them, that's kind of how the market was in general. Like when we had that big boom around Pokemon Go a little bit before, Japan didn't have the same amount of boom. It was kind of like, we had the initial earthquake and the tsunami didn't hit yet in Japan. So there was a little bit of a delay between the two. And now like Japan's really feeling it. And I think what you'll eventually see, like with any, you know, exponential growth, is it's going to settle. It's going to have some settle or retrace. So like some of these stores, they might not be there in a year, or they might adapt. They might go another direction.
I see many stores already died during that process, but there's still a few stores left, and no, there is this wave continuing, and we'll see where it leads us to. Yeah,
and I think the thing we could probably talk about, or really, since we're deep into this video now, like one of the hard-hitting conversations about hobby shops, because everybody wants to open a hobby shop. You know, it's like the dream is open a hobby shop. And I think the number one thing people don't understand is no matter who you are, even the top of this hobby, you know, say the name of whoever you think it is, at the end of the day, it is still so much constant work and constant. It's almost similar to being like a professional athlete. It's like if you're a professional athlete who just rides on their laurels, doesn't go to practice, doesn't train, it's like you're going to fall off fast. It's like, yeah, you might be able to go to your YMCA or whatever and whoever it is there, some random guy in the gym, but it's like if you're not keeping up with that pace, you will fall behind so quick. And it's just like that in business, especially in niche markets like Pokemon, even in Japan. Like people think Japan's this magical, wonderful place because everyone's so nice, polite, and everything's clean. But it's like, no, business is still the same there.
And people don't realize that if you want to open a store, you have different needs than if you're a collector.
Yes, absolutely.
As a store, every month you need to make a minimum sale to pay off your debts.
That's a PSA 10 observation right there.
Like you need to pay off your debt. Yes. You have the rent, electricity, all the things that run it. Yeah, you have to pay your income, all the things you ordered. Right. You have to pay all this back. So if you can't make enough entry to pay those back, how you want to survive?
Right.
How many great items you have? Yeah. You need to sell them.
Yeah, you could have like all the trophy cards in the world, but it's like you need to move some of them to keep the lights on. Yeah. I mean, that's just what it is. And I think that's it's hard because even when you hear, like when I was talking about my sales before, it's like when you're a business, like you're at the forefront of creating markets and creating value and creating wealth. So it's just you. Like there's no other person.
No.
Like I know there's everything's a pro and a con, but like the luxury of having a 9 to 5 is you clock in, clock out, and someone else is taking that risk. But when you're the business, it's just you, and that's a very daunting experience if you haven't again trained yourself. You can't just jump into the MBA with 6 months experience. Like you got to go a long time to get to that point. And people don't realize like this level of owning your own store is literally being a pro. It's like you're being a pro. So you need to train. It's not something you just do right out of the gate. Passion won't cover those costs. Like you can't pay your bills.
Yeah, you can be passionate how much you want.
Yeah.
But if you can't pay your bills,
yeah,
you're
passion's not gonna pay the bills. Like when that dude's trying to collect rent, you're like, but I'm very happy with what I do. Okay.
Like your owner was like, yeah, it's good you're passionate and everything, but you still owe us 1 month of rent or whatever it is,
Yeah.
So you need to create something. You need to do something to sell.
Yeah.
You need to make the cash flow has to be continued. Mm-hmm. So if you can't do it, it's just difficult. It's just difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of this is probably repeat for most people. It's just general economics. But I think sometimes people romanticize Japan as if they're like this. I don't even know. Like, I think people just, because they have such a strong, like, sentimentality or value for, like, the cards, they're like, oh, it just must be, like, this like, playground over there. And, like, everything's so easy. And, like, opening a store is so easy and it's so fun. And it's like, man, it's a grind. Like, it's good they make it look easy, but...
No, it's horrible, too. Opening a store is horrible.
Yeah.
It's just a mess.
Yeah.
And if you don't speak Japanese, worse. Like, you don't want to open the store. You just want to go home. Not really.
I feel like speaking Japanese in Japan might be a necessity.
No, really.
It might be something you need.
No, really. For me, like, I'm never in the store. You will never see me in the store. I doesn't even exist. Mm-hmm. There's people working in our store. Mm-hmm. They don't even know me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just the random guy, Like, people don't even know me. I do my job my way.
Yeah.
But all the rest is Japanese people's doing it. Mm. Because what people do not understand is Japan is Japan. You have the world, you have Japan.
That's a good way to put it.
No, you have the world, you have Japan.
Yeah.
So you have to put everything in that perspective to make them understand easier. Mm-hmm. So you can't just go say, okay, guys, I want to open a store. I have the money. Okay, look, I have the cash. So let's open a store. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You need to register. You need to show your hands. Like, you see my hands are clean.
It's like if you speak Japanese, you still don't speak the language.
Yeah, and then the good example, at the restaurant, right?
Yeah, he's like kawaii.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you speak the language. Yeah, I didn't know that.
She got triggered for a second.
So sometimes when I even speak Japanese, like, oh, you speak Japanese? Yes, I speak very good Japanese.
Yeah.
So there is this, not just language barrier, but this
cultural
false idea. Mm-hmm. And also in business ways, the thing with Japan is you can't just go to people. Here in the US, you want to talk with someone, you just call them.
Right.
It's
right.
You text a mail, you call them,
right.
You just go there directly and done.
Yeah, you ask them, what do you want for that card? And then they're like, oh, I want this. And then you call them a douchebag. And then, it's like, it's so much more open communication.
Yeah, and then you guys grab a beer together. It's done. Yeah. In Japan, there is so many things, untold rule. You have to text them multiple times. You have to go to dinner, explain your business, what you're doing, how you came to this business.
Yeah.
And then after, I don't know how many times, they maybe start to trust you and then say, okay, maybe we should do something together until everything happens.
This is the same thing where it's like you meet the parents, you know, then you see if they can talk about their cards. Yeah. Even earlier we went to a Japanese restaurant and every little thing has a thing. Like we order this sake, it's like, get the sake, you gotta pour it a certain way, you gotta hold it at a certain time, bottle or whatever. I'm just like, just put the thing in the thing. And like, when we're eating the sushi, you're like, okay, this salmon is the fattiest part of the salmon. It's the best part of the salmon. You got rolled up, put the wasabi in here, roll it up and do whatever. I'm just like, it's all, in like 12 hours, it's gonna come out all the same. It's like... But yeah, it's like everything is a thing in Japan.
Yeah.
And there's like this cuteness to it. There's this quaintness to it. But with business, sometimes it is very cumbersome. It's like...
It is.
It's like walking through mud sometimes. It's like, God. It's like you eventually get there. But...
It takes time, patience, and waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting.
A lot of patience. Like, I've known June, like... For a few years, I remember we met at Worlds like a few years ago, 3-4 years ago. Yeah, something like that. And if anything, like this is we're just like citizens of the world. Like we just want to be part of the problem, not part of the solution. Like part of the solution, not part of the problem. Sorry, I can't do my South Park voice. But the point is like we were never like confined to that cultural thing. Mm-hmm. Like we never had to like worry about that issue, but like I've known Japanese people like twice or 3 times as long as you, and it's just like you can't get past first base. Like these people just, there's nothing you can do, there's no gift you can give them. It's like they just will not, they won't go that next step, and a lot of it is because their culture doesn't let them. It's not that they really don't want to, it's just that these, like we were talking about this with the artists want to make some more money, they want to freelance a little more, but they just don't know how to get there. Yeah. They need a friggin' American or someone who just has some business sense to come in and say, okay, we're going to do this to make everybody happy. You know, because the U.S. has been doing signatures forever, and we'll figure out how to make everybody happy here. And it's a very easy solution, but they just don't know how to get over that hump, that cultural hump.
So it's more cultural than anything.
Yeah.
So once everything is changed and they understand that, well, Western is different, and Western represent a huge amount of our profit and our sales. Mm-hmm. And maybe then they will start to, change everything a little bit.
It's amazing how economics drives innovation. It's amazing how that happens. Even how you said the thing with the person who comes in and buys a card, twice the value. It just that one sale will trigger someone to just think about it and be like, hang on, maybe I need to price this differently. And it's just that it'll just happen. Like this is why the term market self-regulate exists, because this is it in real time.
Yeah, and that's why they actually move in the Pokemon Center from Kyoto, from a building to another building.
Yeah.
So we were thinking actually talking about the Pokemon Center. Mm-hmm. The thing is, in Kyoto, the Pokemon Center is in a duty-free shop.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is, this is from sure sources, is a lot of foreign people go to Kyoto, buy a lot of product, and get D-tax. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what happened if you get D-tax? Is the company pays it.
This is yes.
The companies pays it.
Yeah.
And then you just realize like, oh, hold on a second, Kyoto make too much money. Oh no, Kyoto lose too much money because there's too much foreign people going there buy a product, and they're like, maybe we should move from that building. Like, we lost a lot of money from there.
Yeah, this is like, you can talk about this for ages, but like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, free, whatever. You go to a hotel, you get a free breakfast.
Yeah.
It's like, but then when you're an adult, it's like free just means somebody is paying for it that isn't me. It's like it just means somebody else is paying for it.
Yeah.
Like when you do, like for example, how it works here is whatever state you're in, you have to collect sales tax. And what I do, like through eBay, is I'll just eat that in my margin. So I won't charge people because I think it's a disincentive. Like, or it's not an incentive for them to buy something if they're like, oh, I'm gonna have to pay this tax. So I just wash it and I'm like, fine, I'll just eat it. So yeah, that's just what it is. Like people don't get like when a cost exists, it usually falls on the business. It's rarely on the customer.
Always.
Rarely. And when it is, the only reason it's on a customer is because they're forced usually by like their country to charge sales tax because they have to pay this, to the government. So anyway, free is never a thing. It just means someone else paid the bill. That's all it means. That's all it means. So yeah, I've heard about this thing with the duty free. I knew a couple guys from Australia, Land Down Under, that went over there and, had a nice little vacation. They talked about, buying stuff from here. And yeah, it's like, it's great. The price is great, but it's because the business is like paying for it for you. Like, So yeah.
So there's actually 2 duty free Pokemon Center. Mm-hmm. So the one in Kyoto and the other one I can tell. But
well, contractually obligated.
I mean, if I say everybody will go there. No. We don't want to.
It's smblack. I hear is this. SM Pratt on eBay is duty free.
I'm not saying anything, but you know.
Yeah.
So that's why like they want to move it and they try to figure out what to do, and they don't want to be too far from the city. So basically, they go and ask from the duty free shop, and 5 blocks away. So you have like two roads, separate them, and after the second road you have another building, which is not duty free but a little bit bigger apparently.
Yeah.
So and then you can buy it there. So they will have a pre-open and the official open time. So yeah,
That's not bad. Yeah.
We'll go to the pre-open and we'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's, I think it's been about an hour, maybe?
Yeah,
I can't tell.
It's a little bit more than an hour, I think. It's a little bit more than
So I think what we might do, no promises, this is still up in the air.
Yeah.
But I might make a post on E4, like asking questions, and maybe we could do it Sunday, like after the tournament.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe, because he's got an early flight, so we're going to do a late night, stay up the whole night.
I mean, I will be on the plane, so I'll have enough time to sleep.
Yeah, right, you got 24 hours. But anyway, we might throw some questions up on E4. I'll make a thread. So I'm not sure when this will go out. I'll try to get this out like Saturday. So that way I'm going to make a thread with questions and then people can just ask. And I'll do a Q&A because I was going to do a Q&A anyway. But this way we can get a little 2-for-1. World citizen here, world view. Get some of that. But yeah, I'll put that up on E4. And for those who catch this in time, feel free to make a post. If not, you're just going to see a video with questions that'll hopefully be relevant to what you wanted asked. But yeah.
And spoiler alert, we just got 2 signature cards designated to smpratte.
Oh yeah. Where's it at? Yeah, you'll see them up. I gotta send it to PSA, but it's exclusive. First edition Red Cheek Pikachu.
And we have another one for smblack.
Yeah, here it goes. Here it goes. One of a kind, one of one.
One of one.
Little product placement again. Never be for sale, but I guess it's technically product placement.
So yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, there you go. But so yeah, I'll put up that thread. This video might come out after it, but either way, you're gonna see another video with us probably.
Probably,
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much everything you got, guys. Till next time.